So what I will do, without further ado, is introduce and welcome back Claire to us. And Claire, thank you for making the time today to come and speak to us about what's happening in your role as Schools Environment Officer. And over to you.
Thank you, and thank you for giving me the chance to tell everybody about a project I've been working on that I'm very excited about. But I'll start with who I am and where I've come from. I'm Clare Green. I worked for 35 years in primary schools in Cornwall, latterly at Key Primary in Truro, and I left last January to take up the role of Schools Creation Care Officer at the Diocese of Truro, which is probably the best move I've ever made. I think it's something I'm really enjoying. I'm really enjoying doing. My role involves quite a few things. I've got several projects on the go, one of which is to, you're all aware of the Eco Church scheme. I'm sure some of you are also aware that there is also an Eco Schools scheme. So my main role in the diocese is to persuade the Church of England schools to jump on board with the Eco Schools scheme and then to support them while they're doing that. However, I went off at a bit of a tangent, coming from this meeting, to be honest, and having a chat with Helen from Iluggan. Helen had said, well, you know, we've got lots of schools around us, and I'd really like to get them involved in our beautiful churchyard and looking at our beautiful green space, but I'm not quite sure how to go about that. So we worked together on a project which has not yet got a really catchy title, so I might open a competition for that actually. At the moment, I'm just calling it the Schools Creation Care Workshops, but I'm sure there must be a really nice title for that somewhere. And having created this scheme and tried it out in several churches, I'm really keen for it to go a little bit further and for other churches to try this out. So really, I'm bringing it back to you with a view to it may be something that you're interested in doing in your church and talking about how I can support you to do that. So the Schools Creation Care Workshop is a project for schools and churches to do together. The aims of the project are to foster links between the churches and their local school, to provide support for teachers in teaching high quality RE lessons, to introduce children to a church and what it has to offer, and to work together with children in the desire to cherish creation. Many local schools, we are very lucky that we have 43 Church of England schools in our diocese, but most of our schools are state maintained. They don't have links with the church. And I think that's a shame because I think churches and schools have a lot to offer each other. I know at Key School where I work and at Key Church where I worship, there are strong links between church and school, despite Key being a state maintained school. I know the curriculum from my years in teaching, so I wanted to create something that teachers would really want to engage with. So I went to our RE curriculum. We have in our schools a syllabus called the Cornwall RE curriculum, which is followed by all children in Cornwall, which makes it very simple to tap into that. One of the units of work is on creation care. And it's based around why Christians feel they need to care for creation. And it explores not only the reasons why everyone needs to look after the environment and wants to look after the environment, but what is specifically a Christian thing. So a lot of children are taught in schools, they're taught this curriculum, but they're taught mainly by teachers who probably don't have a faith of their own. And that makes it quite difficult for those teachers to answer some of the children's questions. So I went back to the curriculum and I've designed a session that is around the RE unit. So first thing that teachers will see is that it ticks boxes of things that teachers have to teach anyway. It's not something that they that's a nice extra to do. It's something that they have to teach, and it gives them the opportunity to come and get some teaching in church. The other thing that many children, we found on our trial of the scheme, that many children, it was probably the first time they'd walked into a church, and I was talking about the awe and wonder that children show when they're talking about creation, but also the awe and wonder when they walked into that church for the first time was also quite joyful to see to see a lot of little faces going, oh, this is amazing. Oh, haven't you got lovely carpet? Oh, what's that for? Oh, can I sit here? Oh, what's this book? And it was really great to see them just enjoying being in a church. And it also gave us the opportunity to invite those children to come back with their families. So there's a little bit of evangelism, is that the right word, coming into this as well. So we've designed a session. The session starts with a welcome and introduction from whoever is leading. That's been me on some occasions and other people in other schools. We then go through the creation story. Now, I've put that on a PowerPoint. We've got a lovely video of the creation story, which comes from the Children's Storybook Bible. It's narrated by David Suchet, and it's got beautiful illustrations that go with it. It also comes in book form, so if your church doesn't have the facilities for showing a video or putting something up on a screen, it doesn't mean that you can't do this. It just means that we would have to get hold of the book, and someone else would have to read it other than the delightful Mr. Suchet. Also on the PowerPoint with the video are some discussion points, which again are addressing it comes down quite heavily on the idea of stewardship and explains what that is. I also use the Message version where the translation is to take responsibility. So there are a chance to discuss with children what it means to take responsibility for something. Once we've had about 20 minutes sitting down with the children doing the story and the discussion, we then have lots of practical activities for them. We can either use 3 or 4 activities, depending on how many volunteers you have and how long you want the session to last. The activities can be indoor or outdoor and work equally well both ways. Obviously, it is better if you can get out into an outside space, but if it's raining or your church doesn't have an outside space, it wouldn't stop you doing this, because some of the activities can be done indoors. You break the children into 3 or 4 groups then, and each group does the activity. Most of the activities last about 15-20 minutes. You can have the whole class doing one activity, but that can detract from the amount of discussion you can have with the children and how much chat you can have with them. If you've got a volunteer with 6 to 8 children, you can find you can get a lot of chat. The children can ask a lot of questions. So the activities go on, each group rotates, so each group visits each activity, so 15 minutes at each. So an hour later, whatever, the children have done all the activities. You can put in a break if you want to. Some churches were very keen to provide the children with snacks and drinks. Other churches gave children the opportunity to have their own snack and drink. You have to just be a little bit careful around snacks and drinks with children with allergies. You're best to check with the school what you're offering. We then all come back together and we have a prayer or wish tree at the front of the church. Now, I've called it a prayer or wish tree because this scheme works really well with non-church schools, and some of those children will not be Christians. They will tell you quite bluntly that they don't believe in God. So instead of writing a prayer, they might prefer to write a wish, and we tend to give them the choice. You can either, we do a little bit of explaining about what prayer is to Christians and what the difference is between saying a prayer and just wishing for something. And then the children have a paper cutout leaf. they write their prayer or their wish on the leaf, and the leaf is tied to the tree at the front of the church. The children like seeing this done. We then tell the children that on the next Sunday service, when all the people who attend the church come to church, that they will pray the children's prayers for them. They will read some of the prayers. They will that the tree will be prayed over. So the children will see that their prayers are going to be shared with God. They're going to be shared with other people. They get quite excited about that. And at that point, generally, we ask the children if we suggest to the children if they would like to come to church and see their prayers being prayed, then give them the times of the services. We also give the times of the services and any children's work that you do in your church to the teacher who's accompanying the children, and that can all they'll put that on the school's newsletter for you. So it's that inviting people into the church. And we finish with a little bit of a tie everything together. We have a lovely jazzy song on the PowerPoint should you want to use it. It's a bit of an earworm, so I'd give you a health warning with it. It's very difficult to get out of your head once you've heard it sung. It's a real tongue twister, and the children find it absolutely wonderful. They think it's hilarious, and most classes will ask you to play it a second time. But as I say, you will be then singing it for the rest of the day. And that's kind of how the session lasts. So the session can last anything between an hour and a half to 2.5 hours, depending on how long you want to spend, how many activities you put on in, whether you put in a break. Most schools, 2 hours is a good amount of time. It gives the school time to get their children to the church, do the session, and take the children back for lunch or the end of the day. Sometimes we've had to shorten the afternoon session slightly because of home time and teachers needing to get children back to school. Now, all the activities or all the resources for the sessions are on our website, and I will post the link in a minute in the chat. The resource pack consists of instructions, a kind of some ideas of how to run your session, what you need to do, what works well, what doesn't well. Just kind of a bit of a crib sheet if you haven't run children's workshops before. It's the PowerPoint, which includes the creation story and the song and lots of talk points. It's editable. If there's anything else you want to put in, then that's fine. But the points on the PowerPoint, they particularly tick the right boxes for the RE curriculum for the teachers. So it's good to stick to those questions and add some. There are also a load of suggestions for activities. Now, they're not, there's about 10 activities there to choose from, but of course you can do your own. And Rosie came up with a marvellous activity at All Saints, which involved printing, which was the children absolutely loved. So it's certainly not an exhaustive list of things you can do, but it gives you some ideas and some resources. We've also done an editable risk assessment. You can't have children in your church without doing a risk assessment. So the idea is that you do the risk assessment and then you send it to the school, because that, again, something that teachers don't like about trips is the fact that they've got to visit the place they're going to go to. They've got to write a risk assessment. They've got to do a lot of prep work. So the idea is to make it as easy for the schools as possible to encourage them to come. So if we provide them with a risk assessment that can be based on the activities we've chosen and our church, then that's going to make life a lot easier for teachers, and they are then very likely to engage. If you are going to do an activity that involves craft work, or that you want the children to have clipboards or paper or whatever, we have a classroom in a box. That at the moment lives in my garage. It's free to anybody to borrow. I will deliver it to you. It contains 30 write-on whiteboards and pens, 30 big bulldog clips so that you can turn them into clipboards, class set of scissors, sellotape, class set of glue sticks, pencils, pens, everything that you would need to run one of these workshops. And it's all the resources are you're most welcome to borrow. The other thing, of course, the other resource is me. I am quite happy to come and help you to set up your workshop. I have a certain amount of time I can offer to come and run the workshop with you if you don't have someone who's confident about talking to children. And I'm quite happy to bring schools and get them engaged as well. And I will support in any way that I can if you feel that you would like to run one of these creation care workshops at your local church. Yep, so I think that I have said everything I need to say. Over the course of June and July, we ran these workshops at 4 local churches. We ran them at Iluggan, at Chasewater, and at All Saints. And then Key did it slightly differently. Key and School Key Church have a really good relationship with each other, but unfortunately, in between the two buildings, there is a very big and very dangerous main road. So to get the children from the school to the church, they can't walk, they have to be bused, which means an expense for the school. And the school had already booked in to come down and use the church for something else. So at Key, we actually, Sue Horner and Hugh, our vicar, and myself took the workshops to the school and we did them in the school. And I know that Sam from Dockyard had all the materials as well. I think he was going to do the same thing with Tregoll School. So it is possible to take it to the school. Does work better in your own churchyard, but you can take it to the school. The QR code there will, if you want to take a quick flash of that, will take you to the resources on the website. My email is there and my phone number is there, but I will put all that information into the chat as well so that you have that. Finally, Rosie, I think we have a bit of feedback from the workshops from Helen.
There we go.
I'm Helen Jones. I'm the Creation Care Champion for Iluggan Parish, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about our Creation Care workshops, which we held at Iluggan Church in the summer. We wanted to engage with schools with the idea of caring for our creation. So I discovered that Claire was the school's creation care officer through our creation care Zooms, and asked her if she could help us. And she contacted the 3 primary schools in our parish. And they all wanted to bring 2 classes to spend a morning or an afternoon at Iluggan Church. Very large churchyard. A large part of it is a living churchyard, which is ideal for encouraging many wildflowers, insects, and birds. Claire and I chose 3 workshop ideas, and we had 9 volunteers from the parish, which was great. So not everyone had to do all 3 days. They could just do 1 or 2 days. Then, on the day, the pupils and teachers arrived. We sat them down in the church, and Claire had an introductory welcome, and they watched a David Suchet video about Genesis and the story of creation. And then Claire had a bit of engagement with the children about caring for creation, stewardship of creation. And then we went out into the churchyard. The teachers divided them up into 3 groups, and we did our workshops. So each group spent 15 minutes doing one workshop and then moved on to the next one. And so all the children did all 3 workshops, which was great. That was a scavenger hunt, comparing the number of plants within a circle of string, and also a trail of unnatural things which we'd previously planted in the churchyard. And then we came back to the church, we wrote a prayer or a wish or of something that the pupils would like to happen for better care of the planet. We hung them on a large branch in the church, and Claire closed in prayer, and they all went home. They were most enjoyable days. The children engaged with all parts of the days. They enjoyed being in the church and the churchyard and exploring the churchyard. The workshop material was very easy to use, and we had lots of really good positive feedback from all the schools about their morning and afternoon. However, we were blessed with very lovely sunny days. Anyhow, that's a little bit about our creation care days with the primary schools in Iluggan Parish. Thank you.
So that was our experience at Iluggan. We had a slightly less lovely sunny day at All Saints, didn't we, Rosie? But we did manage to do 3 lovely activities. Rosie bought bought some samples of the wildlife, the plants in the outside space, and brought them into the church hall, and the children had fun identifying them and then designing their own butterflies. They did a lovely printing activity, and they did some planting. They all went home with a sunflower seed that they had planted. So a great time was had by all. We did similar activities up at Key, out on their school field. That worked well as well. Chasewater Church have also had a go and done that with one of their classes, and that went well. I think they were focusing on butterflies, but I wasn't there for that one. So if you're interested and you're in Truro in the next few weeks, there is a big display of some of the work that the children did, along with some of their prayer leaves at Truro Cathedral, along with some of the other work that I do with schools, and just to kind of show what the church schools are doing as well. So you would be most welcome to go and have a look at that in Truro Cathedral if you're there in the next couple of weeks. And I think that's all I wanted to say, really. Do please get in touch if you feel that a creation care workshop might be something that would work in your church. And I'm be really delighted to help you with it. So thanks for listening. And that's me, I think.
Thank you, Claire. Any questions? Any sort of observations, questions, or things that people are dying to ask or wanted to know about?
Yeah.
Sheila.
Can I just ask what age group it's aimed at? Is it aimed at any age group within the primary school, or a particular one?
It's particularly aimed at lower juniors, so years 3 and 4, because it's that's the objectives that I've based it on. However, it would work very well for year 2, and I think in one of the schools who had mixed age group classes, we had a few year 5s in as well, and they seemed to engage really well with it. I didn't say that it also ticks some of the science, some of the activities tick some of the year 3, 4 science curriculum as well.
Yeah, it's just that Stratton School come in regularly to the church. All the years come in at one time, at least once during the school year, to do various things. So I just wondered what age group this was actually geared up to. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Lower juniors, but it would work for top infants as well.
Thank you.
And I mean, Claire obviously she flashed up her resources fairly briefly to see the sort of stuff. All I can tell you is just how well, thoroughly thought through, professional, engaging. You know, it's so clearly come from someone who has a love of teaching and wants to communicate through that medium. It's amazing stuff. So do embrace this opportunity if you want. You know, this is a real missional opportunity into our schools as well, and into our wider church community. And I'll add a small word of warning. Some of you will remember when I started my role and I had a mere 12 hours a week to work with. Claire is in a similar boat, so you may have to bear with her sometimes, but she's so committed to this work. So if you ask, she'll find a way. Any other questions, any other observations?
Claire, can I ask, is it like a rolling programme? So you've got activities for the winter as well as the nicer weather months, or?
I haven't yet, but that is something that could easily be done. But any of the indoor activities would work at any time of year if you stick to art and craft and that kind of thing. I aimed it mainly at summer, although it worked really well at this time of year in autumn, mainly because a lot of some of the churches that I've worked with, they already have children coming in for Christmas activities at Christmas and Easter activities at Easter. So I was looking for something summery. So, but as I say, the indoor activities, the message and the teaching is the same all year round, but the activities would have to change if you can't go outside.
Okay, thank you.
Once every 10 years, you could do an activity on snow. Tanya, I saw a hand go up there.
Yeah, no, can I just ask if you have a list of the resources that are in your classroom in a box? Because I think that it would be lovely for us to be able to replicate that and share it out to lots of different schools. I've got about 12 underneath me, so it would be lovely to share this resource.
I can certainly share the list of what's in the box. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
If I send all the kind of information to you, Rosie, can you?
Yes, yeah. Tanya, I've got your email address.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Fabulous. You know, and we are all for working, you know, cross-church in all that we do. One of the real thrills for us actually within Cornwall is that we have some Catholic Anglican partnerships across our churches, and particularly in places like Padstow, where the team there work together and have pursued creation care and the Eco Church Awards together. That's been a real model of collaborative church, and you know, so yeah, hugely encouraged to hope that we could do more of that together.
That's lovely, thank you.
Any more questions, observations? Mike, and then Anne. I can tell Anne's got a question.
Hello, I'm very unfamiliar with how RE is taught in school these days, and my question is, I suppose, I mean, the creation story in the Bible is a brilliant story. Is it presented as a literal interpretation, or is there much more interest in perhaps, or can we cope with the science as well? How is it treated in that environment?
In non-church schools, it is certainly, actually, to go to the curriculum, they learn the creation story, and generally any RE that you teach in a non-church school, you preface with Christians believe that, or Christians, Jews and Muslims all believe that. And some teachers will say this is the story that explains how the world came into being. And when they get into year 6, there's a unit on comparing the creation story with evolution and the science. But I think that if you're in a church, if you've got a knowledge of the Bible, which a lot of teachers don't have, it's easy to say that different Christians won't all believe the same thing. There are still Christians who believe that that is a literal interpretation of how the earth came into being. Other people will explain it as God working through evolution or God working through science. And it's quite a complicated question, but it's not presented as this is a literal truth. And children in non-church schools definitely are never told what to believe. They're given the options, and asked to make their own mind up. It might be slightly different in church schools, but I haven't taught in a church school, so I'm not entirely sure.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Fab. Well, Claire, thank you so much for sharing your time and your resources with us today. And I hope if if you've got a school that's engaged or even on the fringes of engagement with your church community, this is a great opportunity to make a connection and offer something of real value into that school community and indeed for the church. So Claire, thank you so much. Rosie, what's happening in the world of notices?
Right, okay. Well, of course, we've got to tell you all about our Creation Care service, which is coming up on the 28th of September, 2 o'clock at St Andrews. It's going to be a great service. Like Ben said, that we've got Bishop Hughes going to be leading the reflection. We've got Troon School coming to do a creative dance, and there'll be the presentation of awards. And believe it or not, this year, so from last September to this September, we have gained 26 awards. I don't, which is the largest amount that we've ever attained. So well done to all of you for doing this. So I hope to see lots of people there picking up their awards, but if we don't, we shall name you. So fantastic. And of course, there'll be a chance to have a nice chat afterwards, cup of tea, and meet one another. So that's that. There is a flyer if anybody wants the flyer and to circulate. We've got a black and white version, so come to me and I can send that to you. Being the season of creation, lots of Creation Tide resources out there. We've still got 3 more Sundays to do something. So if you haven't done anything, you can still do something. Just make sure you got your creation prayers and your intercessions. You can certainly do something. And we did refer to the cathedral at one point. I can't remember why, but just to let you know that Ellie Sheard, she's the canon for creation care at the cathedral. She's running a creation care course, which is on Mondays. So it's a course which, if you haven't started, you still can go in. You don't have to join it every week, but it's going to be study, prayer, and reflection as we consider God's love for the earth and our Christian call to care well for the natural world. So that's on Monday afternoons, 2:30 to 4. Also another activity I think Mike might know about, this is down his way of the world. Our colleague Andrew Hill, who joins us, who can't today, unfortunately, but he's running a quiet day. It's entitled Hoping and Action with Creation. And that's going to be at the De Gibner Prayer Chapel, which is near Helston, 10 to 4. It's free, just bring your lunch. So much happening actually in September. It's Fair Trade Fortnight as well. That's moved to September. So don't forget your Fair Trade coffee, teas and coffees. That's going to be a tick on your Eco Church if you're applying for Eco Church. But yeah, look online, loads of resources to do with Fair Trade Fortnight. And finally, I just want to mention about, I don't know if any of you have seen the diocese website recently, but we've got an article by our cut carbon officer, Ben Wood, and it's regarding quick wins grants, which are available. So this is part of the Church of England Net Zero programme, and you can apply for up to £2,500 for a quick win. So something which you know which could help your emissions. So like maybe some lagging of pipes, some insulation. You can apply for a grant, and I will include the link in the newsletter. And it's a very simple process. There's a short application form, and all the details will be on the notice sheet. But just give it a think. What could you do in your church? What could you do to help stop a draft, or maybe some leaky pipes outside. So 2,500 you can apply for. So I think that's about it.
Fabulous. Thank you, Rosie. And yeah, if you can help us promote this service coming up on the 28th, that would really help. So if you get it into church news sheets, or if you want to stick a poster up, just reach out to Rosie and she can provide you the relevant detail to get that out there. But it would be great. And isn't that incredible? So just over 2 years ago, we started sort of engaging with Eco Church. We didn't have, as a diocese, much of a relationship with them down here in Cornwall, but we really have a great relationship with them now. And in that time, we've seen over 40 churches actually come on and register and gain awards. So yeah, it's a great thing to celebrate. I'm so excited. 26 awards, come on. So do come and join us together in that. Now, unless there's anything else, anybody need to share something, any vital thing you thought, oh my goodness, I didn't say that. Now is your moment. Well, there's a blessing. And so I'm just going to take a moment and pause, just pray, and thank God for this morning, and then send you on your way. So let's have a moment's quiet. Heavenly Father, God of creation, provider God, Jehovah Jireh, we thank you for your goodness. We thank you for the way that you're calling people to this cause to help the reflourishing of your creation, our home, Earth. And as we've shared together this morning, as we've listened to one another, as we've heard each other's stories and voices, would you let the bits sort of nestle in amongst us and encourage us onto greater action? And we thank you that we partner with you in this, God. We are not alone in this. We don't need to be afraid about this, but we partner with you, Almighty Creator God. And we ask that you would enable the growth of this work. We thank you for all the green shoots, all the good signs of things happening, and we dare to ask for more. Amen. Friends, have a wonderful, it's Thursday, isn't it? Is it Wednesday or Thursday? It's Thursday today, isn't it? There we go. Sorry, I'm lost at the moment. But have a wonderful Thursday, and I hope you enjoy some slightly calmer weather this coming weekend and into next week, and look forward to seeing you all in the very near future. Every blessing.